Consumers are also more optimistic about the short-term outlook, and all of this coming even as the market sold off last month and the COVID numbers picked back up. Joining me now with more on the state of the consumer and the economy, Steve Odland is president and CEO of the Conference Board and a CNBC contributor. Steve, it's good to have you, and I'm going to delve right into one of the details here that I think is fascinating. I don't want to make too much of it, but there is less confidence amongst younger people right now. Are you seeing a generational split here emerge regarding attitudes about what's going on with the economy right now?
Well, you do see differences in people who have jobs and they're safe versus those that may be a little bit more skittish, and that tends to be, the younger group. You do see some regional differences too, but this is a big jump in the Consumer Confidence Index for the Conference Board this month. It wasn't so much in the present situations, in other words, how people are feeling about today. It was more on how they expect things to happen in the next 6 months, and they expect business conditions to improve, they expect jobs to improve, and they expect salaries to go up. But you just have to look at this and say, well, okay, that's because we should probably be into spring by that time. Maybe we'll have a vaccine. People are feeling like we could get back to normal. We're starting to edge that way. Now, the big question is, what does this mean for the holidays? Because if they're 6 months out feeling a lot better, but not so much today, in between, we've got this huge holiday season, and the question is whether they're going to spend. This suggests that they should open their wallets a bit for the holidays. It's not going to be like it was last year, but it's not going to be like it was in the early COVID days either.
Steve, what do you make of the fact that we're not picking up on much angst, if you can call it that, over the stimulus bill? So, obviously on the business side, people are looking for the stuff we've discussed, liability shield, et cetera. From a very top level, we know that there's concern in the economy broadly from the economists and policy types about this. Are you picking up on this concern, though, amongst the consumers themselves? And if not, why do you think that is?
I think that we're not. And the consumers themselves are looking at what they're experiencing now and what their companies are telling them or what they feel like they're going to experience in 6 months. So right now, you're either doing great, which is a good sector of the economy, or not, and you've got assistance. They're not depending on the bill, and I think that's what it tells us. They're not expecting big, great things on the stimulus. Now, from a business standpoint, small businesses are expecting it. Large businesses that are in trouble, like the airlines and so forth, are expecting some stimulus help here. But I don't think that you're seeing it at the consumer level because their jobs are more dependent on, the here and the now.
Do you think that the order, we go back throughout history and we look at, the market sensitivity to all these different kinds of indicators, and we say, okay, jobless claims are usually a leading indicator. Consumer confidence usually a coincident indicator. The unemployment rate is usually a lagging indicator. But is that all scrambled right now? I mean, jobless claims certainly do not feel leading. They're probably lagging. Consumer confidence, do we categorize that as lagging or as leading? And when your point about the small business is why I bring this up, is that now a leading indicator? Because if they're the ones where confidence is really deteriorating, they're the big employers in the economy, is that kind of where we're picking up on some early trouble signs?
Well, I think you could look at these results as an early indicator because it's projecting out 6 months. That's where you see the big change. We're about halfway back to where we were at the depth of the early COVID days and pre-COVID. So, we're about halfway. People are feeling like we've gotten through a lot of it. But a lot of this is just unknown, right? So it's their expectations based on what they're projecting will happen. And, there's an election in here which is not indicated in these numbers at all. So I think it's a little bit of an early indicator, which means it's a good sign, which is why I'm feeling better about the holiday season than I did a few months ago.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.